Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of, you guessed it, Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11. It wasn't that hard to guess, I know. And of course, you also guessed that we were playing as Germany. I know. It wasn't that hard of a guess. Now we have a couple of decisions to make. Decided I would wait to make them with you. Okay, yes. Do we upgrade SS Polizei Division to SS Panzer-Grenadier Division? Now, let's see. It's somewhere here. Oh, I don't want to do that. That's right. I think we can just hover over some of these. I think it may be over here. Currently. Oh, there it is. See, we were moving it west, and everyone thinks everything's going east. There we go. And one thing you may note about that, and what I think that is probably a picture of someone from the SS Polizei, is that they're wearing sort of the somewhat army-style rank symbols while in SS camouflage style. And I don't know if or when, and some people had holdovers both sort of to show, you know, hey, I'm, you know, an old guy, you know, I've been around for a long time, so I'm still wearing the older style, versus just haven't gotten a new upgrade uniform. If you look at the early Polizei division, they, you know, and as this thing shows, they're not necessarily an SS division, they're more of the Polizei as it comes along. Okay, moves along. Now this here we have, which now, I know from reading my books on uniforms and history of the Waffen-SS series that often they were what they were well before the name change. Meaning, they're already functionally a Panzer Grenadier Division before they get their name change, and then they're functionally a Panzer Division before they get the name change. So we're going to lose this, and we have von Pfeffer Weldenbusch. Brunch. Yes, simple to pronounce German names. And I think even... No, we want to up the speed just a little bit. That goes away. Okay, and we also want to create Panzer-Lehr. Okay, Panzer-Lehr, I got a few more words to say on Panzer-Lehr. Well, let's read this. The 130th Panzer-Lehr Division was formed from the demonstration units of the various Panzer schools and was equipped with better equipment that most of the armored divisions. It was transferred to France in February 44 and then to Hungary in April, where it was absorbed the Infantry Lehr Regiment 109. It soon returned to France in preparation for the expected landings on D-Day. It was in Paris area and immediately sent to Normandy, losing over 200 vehicles to Allied air attacks during the move. It fought in the landings and soon, okay, and made it out and rebuilt and attacked. Okay, demonstration. Just we'll address that word. A demonstration unit, at least as my understanding, is something that is a unit that displays, well, sort of tactics. Where I think this is more of from training units, I think, but not the units so much in training, but the units that were training the people. And it may be sort of convoluted. Basically, from my understanding is they pulled out people from, oh, is it up here still? Because we sent it up here for an emergency, and then we've had two more actions up here. Well, here the Lehr Stab and the Lehr airborne elements there. Here, yes. This, these are what I'm sort of talking about type units, is the guys who are, you know, training, plus, you know, the people being trained. So these are supposed to be well experienced, well-trained personnel that is quite effective. Now, I don't know a lot about this, but I'm making several presumptions, partially on the dates, February 44 and such. It would have been good if you had taken all of the trainers and the sort of, shall we say, select elements of the recent graduates and form this division out of them. So, not every loader in the back who's, been in the Army for 6 years loading, Panzer, barrels. It's not like a guy I've been doing the same job for 6 years. No, you sort of got the guys that are trained to do it, and then you've got new recruits who are going to be, gone through the training, but they're going to be the loaders and, the radio operators, the drivers, and get more experience. Because I am, without knowing, I just know from other armies, they cross-train, so the radio operator is also trained or whatever to be a driver for the tank, because the driver gets tired, and the radio operator can just sort of maybe even nap, if you're doing a lot. Now, once in combat, he needs to be, sort of on the radio, but it's still, that's not as tough as being the driver. And, so they change up roles to some degree. So I would expect in, somebody like the loader and the radio operator to, eventually loader may eventually move to being a gunner. And the radio operator may eventually move to being a driver, because the driver is really, for this coordinated, it's really, really coordinated between 3 people on a tank, and of like this for a 5-man crew. The vehicle commander, he's supposed to be aware of what's going on, whether he's the lowest ranking guy in the platoon, the Zug, whatever, or the platoon commander, whatever. He's supposed to know where the other tanks are, because even if you're the guy who's supposed to follow on, you're supposed to know where your other fellow tanks are in your immediate unit. So needs to know where the friendly units are, friendly tanks are that you're coordinating with. Unlike when you watch me drive Panzers in War Thunder, you're really supposed to coordinate with the unit. Then also you're supposed to know where friendly units are, so you don't, drive over a friendly infantryman. It's a real thing that you need to be aware of, or running into other friendly vehicles, or shooting friendly vehicles. You need to know where the friendlies are. You need to know where the enemies are. You need to sort of kind of know what the terrain is, because the driver may have his head out the hatch and sort of looking around, but he may have the hatches closed and is looking through the driving hatch, so he may know what's right in front of the tank really well, but he may not really even literally know what is on either side of the tank. Yes, he's going down the road, and he's sort of kind of seeing a narrow focus of the road, but what's over, 20, 30 yards, because he had been, let's say, trees on either side of the road, so you're not, like, getting vision way out in the front. You're just looking, okay, road, and then it opens up. But what is on either side of the road could be literally almost 5-6 yards away from the road immediately. The tank commander is supposed to be keeping well aware of all of that. Then he is supposed to, generally speaking, to tell the gunner what to shoot at. Now, obviously, he tells the driver where to go, but he tells the gunner what to shoot at. And it'll be, tank right side red building kind of thing. So he swings his gun around, tries looking for a red building, because that'll be the biggest sort of like, hey, I see a red building as it gets into field of focus. Look for the tank next to it kind of thing. And you might give degrees off from center or other sorts of direction. So he needs to coordinate that, what to shoot kind of thing. Now, of course, there may be tanks, near red building, and once you sort of get them in focus, let the gunner, select which tank to shoot at first, next, because, they're all sort of in a grouping, but basically the gunner shoots at what the commander says to do, as well as they needs to coordinate the driver, because the gunner could, or the commander could be like sort of sitting up like this guy is, looking over a hill, and the whole tank is behind the hill, or a wall or house or whatever it may be, and to a point and there's definitely, I've heard stuff where the tank commander gets out of the tank and maybe walks up to the second story of the house, maybe peeks his head around the house, looking around for the threats, and sees what it is, and then runs back, gets in the tank, and says, to the driver, move up, turn to the right, move up past the house, turn to the right, on the road, and tells the gunner, you'll see a Sherman on the right facing the other way or something. Presumably you're being smart, not driving into their field of fire, but so that these guys then coordinate the action. Of course the loader is coordinating in that if you have different types of rounds, what rounds to put in or to quickly reload, and of course the radio operator is getting communications and sending communications. And I know, like the British, the radio operator was the commander. He fiddled with the radios, he tuned in the radios and whatnot, where because you can see a bunch of photos in which the commander is wearing headphones. I presume that is plugged into the radios, as well as possibly an intercom system. The American tank helmets had an intercom system and a throat mic, down onto the throat, so that the driver could hear the commander over the noise of everything. As well, all or some of the crew was intercommed together in at least some models of American tanks. I say that because I don't know that it was, in some of the earliest stuff, but they definitely had some of that at some point. So, yeah, sure, they all coordinate, but it's sort of the three that are sort of the key to operating this vehicle. And one thing that supposedly made, I think Michael Whitman, I think that's who, the SS Panzer Ace. He sort of got in the war, not too late, but he started out in a Stug 3, in a short-barreled Stug 3, forget which division. And I guess while we're talking, we could do this. Got some Pellenganger, or however you pronounce it, really have some traits, doesn't he? Don't know where I want to use him. Maybe I should put him in command of everything, because he has supply. He's a supply master, Arctic dweller, assault pioneer, as opposed to a pontooner or just an engineer. He is a Loki, a master trickster. So got lots of stuff there, but let's just find a decent. Let's come down here. Oop, I don't know how much we're going to use this division, though. Oh, there we go. Well, I guess it can do. Whitman started out with a Stug, and he kept the same driver all the way through to the end of his career, being destroyed in a Tiger 1 tank. And so he developed one of the keys of his success was that he had developed really good communications and working arrangements with his driver, because with the Stug you had to aim the whole vehicle, and so he got really good with that. And so through his whole Panzer career of driving Panzer tanks, and into the Tiger, he kept his same driver. So driver may be something that people peak out on. It's something you want to do, but radio operators, loaders, those guys I presume over time will get promoted to something else. So, like, I would go back to this unit. So these are so they pull a bunch of the trainers off of these guys. Now, what does that do? Well, it could be really good thing if you've taken a bunch of really good training, really well trained up guys and some of the cream of the crop of their graduates and form these divisions, because you're also doing, like they talk about, an infantry layer regiment, and not just the guys that drive the tanks, but everything. It could be, and it was a really good division. And if you've then taken, shall we say, a bunch of long-term serving guys from all these different branches to go back into the school, PTSD type guys that are, you want to give a break from fighting in the field. Excuse me. And if you're putting those guys into the schools, it can be a really good thing, because now you've got guys with very recent combat experience on the East Front, down at this time down fighting in Italy, places like that, fighting the Americans, fighting the Soviets. And so instead of just, shall we say, sorry. There we go, that's better. Just learning from the books or whatever. Now, of course, I think a lot of these trainers had been earlier combat veterans. Had they done that, it would have been really good, because you got the recent combat veterans that are getting a break and are forming up, train the new recruits coming in, because that's an element. Now, another element is Hitler, and because people are responding to it, likes new divisions for sort of two basic reasons. That he likes new divisions over old divisions. Now, of course, we all know old divisions are better than new divisions, but he likes new divisions better. One, and this is the lesser of the reasons, I think, because Robert Straw, the Battle of the Bulge. You've all seen Battle of the Bulge. If you haven't seen Battle of the Bulge yet movie, stop this video, go on Netflix or wherever and watch Battle of the Bulge. That's just something. It's not that it's such the greatest movie out there. It isn't. But everyone who's watching my series needs to have watched the Battle of the Bulge movie. Starring Henry Fonda and many other people. But Robert Straw, I think I'm getting it right. He also starred in Jaws, the original series, as the oh boy, I'm blanking on names right now. Is the old Fisher guy. And on that, he also was a Bond villain, and he also had, I think, blonde hair then too. He's coming in and going to sort of this underground bunkerish Panzer building factory school thing, and gets shown his model of his new tank, which is of course not a Tiger. It's M48, I believe, or something, American. And he then gets shown his tank commanders, and he's going, they're all boys and whatnot, and then they start singing the Panzer-Lehr song, and then he realizes, yeah, these guys are motivated, we're going to do that. That's part of the situation is these old divisions have been giving no retreat orders by Hitler, including here, later fought in the Ardennes, it was caught in the rear pocket, surrendered to, forced to retreat. Okay, well, maybe it doesn't. I thought it was, no, maybe it wasn't in the Falaise pocket, but Hitler orders the Falaise pocket and some of these other guys to stand or die, and they don't. And I think Panzer-Lehr was one of them. So Hitler's constantly been having these divisions, these older divisions that he thinks and the National Socialists think that have defeatism in them. Been infected by defeatism. So because he's given, no retreat from here, stand or die, because Hitler believes that if you have the will, and Hitler is right to the extent that most battles are fought until one side, because if obviously you're killing somebody, so I'm not talking a battle between two people. I'm talking, which sometimes is, one person just gives up, and if it isn't life or death, it's just like, hey, teenagers mad at each other, one side gives up before the other kind of thing, and that's fine. But battles between groups of people, normally one side just gives up fighting before the other for whatever reason. Watching their comrades die and maybe not seeing the enemy die. Whether they're having, depending on the type of war, in the olden days, I'll use that term, when you were, stabbing with spears and swords, you were probably seeing the enemy die. But in a more modern sense, you may be shooting at the enemy, and you may see enemy figures moving and leaping and, taking cover. You may not be seeing the enemy die, but seeing your own side die. Now, you may be doing more damage to them than they are doing to you, but you may not be realizing it. And so you crack. And that's a very real thing, and Hitler is right in that sense. But if you know that both of your flanks are collapsed, are you going to, become a one platoon or one division or even one corps pocket? Or, well, we're holding here out on the river and the Soviets aren't able to, they've attacked us and they aren't able to push us back. Well, they push back the corps on either side. No, they're about ready to surround us. We're doing fine, though, mein Führer. Of course, you're going to incompetent commanders, even if you're not beaten, even if you've beaten the enemy, and that could be just because the enemy didn't focus on you. It focused on the other corps, the other platoon, the other whatever, and you don't want to be surrounded. You're going to fall back, even though Hitler's giving these no retreat orders. But also, because this is no longer in the days of stabbing people at each other with sharp, pointy objects, if you run out of ammunition, whether it is, bullets for your rifle and machine guns or your artillery rounds, because you may have enough bullets for all your rifles, for a while. I'm not saying endless, but enough for right now. But if all of your artillery is out of ammo, and the enemy's able to move around and use its artillery and use its attacks, and you're feeling very vulnerable, and you don't have an endless amount of rifle ammunition, a responsible commander is going to retreat, because there's no point in holding out when the enemy has its ammo and you don't, or the enemy has fuel and you don't, or whatever it may be, because this is not just a war of will. Japan, you can look at Japan, and I would say overall, I do take the Marines and my, watching John Wayne movies, how great the Marines are. And if there's any Marines watching, probably not World War II Marines, which may be different than modern Marines. Don't know which is better, but I would say the will to at least the will to sacrifice yourself, and the will to fight was probably greater on the Japan. Not all Japanese units are the same, but on some of the Japanese units than the Americans. But the Americans had much more artillery, had much more ammo, and much so to a point. If you're doing samurai bonsai charges, once you've run out of ammunition into the enemy, you may have that will to fight greater than the Marines, but the Marines have machine guns that still function with ammo, and they're just going to mow you down. So the will to continue is meaningless if you have, let's just say, because I'm reading Japanese destroyer captain book, sort of called that. If you have the better trained crew in night actions and night operations, and you're fighting the Americans, and the Americans have radar and can target you when you have maybe some ability to see depending on the range, see the flashes of their guns, but seeing the flashes of their guns, just no general direction kind of thing, and they're moving, they're continuing to move. and they're getting very accurate radar information as to where you are and are shooting at you. You know, it doesn't matter if you can't reply and they can. So will is important. I'm not discounting it. That's why we have morale in this game, and which is better than some of these other, old board games that just win, lose, chip is on the board or off the board or whatever. Now we have more. So defeatism is a real thing, but this is also a war of materiel and technology and all of that. Now, that's one of the reasons that Hitler doesn't like old divisions. Likes new divisions more than old divisions. The other reason is Hitler's looking at this. At this. The map. He's looking at this, the map, and seeing all these divisions moving around. And new divisions means more division. He's not looking at this. He's looking at the chip here, but he's not looking at this. I would say most divisions, at least by 44, if not 43, are somewhere at strength between 1/3 and 3/3, or no, not 3/3, because that would be a full, 2/3. Between 1/3 and 2/3 strength. Most divisions are at that. They are getting a trickle of replacement equipment. They are getting a trickle of replacement personnel. But they are not at full strength. So Hitler seeing this division, which say may get better organization, but will not, receiving reinforcements. This unit will be this unit will be not reinforcement, even if possible. This is sort of what happens to a lot of these divisions. So if you were to say have this type of function on a Hearts of Iron 4 game, you just won't be getting any new tanks, replacing the ones you have, and they'll be slowly being erased. That is why, and so that is the mistake that Hitler is making. So this division won't fight as well as this division will, which is, I think they're both basically the same, but much stronger in its strength here, not just in its organization. So that's why Hitler likes new divisions, because he doesn't look at those stats. He's looking at his map. Of course, all the Churchill's looking at his map boards too, and so is Eisenhower, but they're paying attention to each unit effectiveness, and that's why the American and the Germans do too. Read not just rebuilding divisions that were functionally destroyed at Stalingrad, but pulling units out of the line from Russia and sending them to often in France to reorganize, because they can reorganize in France. It's relatively good weather, relatively calm there, and if there's an invasion, there's at least somebody there, whether they're well organized up, getting ready to go back east, or had just showed back up. Often when they were sent back, at least I know this from reading the SS divisions, because I've read into those many years ago now, but fairly detailed. Often when an SS division like Totenkopf or whatever, or Das Reich was being pulled off from the Eastern Front, they would give basically all of their, at least primary equipment. I don't know that all their rifles and small equipment, but all their big primary equipment, tanks and whatnot, to other Waffen-SS divisions that were still serving on the East Front, and sort of order that, because they were the plans to give them new equipment. Doesn't necessarily mean better equipment. It might mean well, you started to get the Panthers ready for a Citadel. It might be a newer, better version of the Panzer-Lehr than what they had been using, but it might be just the same models, but no point in shipping tanks west when you already have tanks in the west to ship shorter distance and to equip the division and re-equipment, and leave the units, leave the equipment that's already in the east for other units to use. So the Waffen-SS was always doing that, or often doing that at least. So I presume the army is doing it as well to some degree. So that's Panzer-Lehr can be a really good thing for Germany. I'm presuming in my playthrough, because hey, we won against the Soviets. We are winning. We're just simply pulling off soldiers from the, you know, oh, there's some bombers coming in. Anybody tackling them? There's British strategic bombers. Oh, come on, guys, no. There we are. Okay, and I know a bunch of these units that I specifically... Okay, you can start operating again. Let's see. I want them to come and bomb because I want them to come in and get shot up. I don't want them to... Well, sometimes they can get shot up bad enough that they never reach their target and they just get too low. You can theoretically destroy the I say theoretically, and I've watched, and they do get destroyed. So sometimes one or more of these wings will, because there's 3 wings here, can get completely destroyed. But often the case is that they will come in and get attacked at several points on their approach and get damaged plus lose enough morale. I'm gonna let you go on. Oh, you need a break. Lose enough morale that they never actually reach their target. But you want them to get damaged. You want them to go back. Because, and I say you want them to, you do want them to, it would be best if they never actually made it to whatever this target is, and we're going to see about watching that because it's sort of interesting me for the moment. You want them to come in. You want them to, ooh, they really need a break because you don't want them, and I don't like seeing that. I wish they would have stopped. So that they get shot up and then go back home and rest and repair. So it takes ICs to repair them. So you want them to attack as opposed to not attack. And in a way, maybe best not to fully destroy them. So that isn't bad. If the AI will then put other ones back into production, that's okay too. As opposed to producing, oh, I don't know, new ground units, new something else. You want them to operate, you want them to attack, but you want them to be unsuccessful in their attacks. There we go. Make sure there's enough units out here operating, and we're taking off units that are too badly shot up. A little bit more. I prefer them to sort of engage a little further away from the front than where the RAF and or the American fighters are going to interfere in the battle. So that's why I'm sort of setting them the center of their operations on a bit more to the east. Okay, now let's... Okay, no one's engaged them yet. There we go. That's what I want to have happen. Take on the RAF squadrons, like we're seeing that there. Oh, pause. Where are you? Okay, you're coming back out. Okay, see, we can see now they're fairly well shot up. Are they going to get engaged again? Looks like it. Okay, good. No one's on them at the moment. But they're there again. Okay. So this is what I want to have happen. And especially go back as 0 strength is actually probably would be for me the best, what I think is the best outcome. so that they go back home, which I think they did, but maybe they all destroyed. I don't know. They go back at home at 0 strength, and then we give them money. No, I'm trying to build up my money, and I'm still not sure about that. And I got plenty of rare materials at the moment. What technology just kicked over? Okay, political integration. Very good. That is here. Okay, our Waffen SS type and other SS units are highly indoctrinated into fanatical National Socialism. Oh, they're only at 43? They should be up better. Okay. So you want that to happen. Basically, oh, and I think they were coming after, let's look at, I think they were coming after somewhere in here. Okay, so they bombed here, I think, in Leipzig. I think they made it into Leipzig, as we can see it, sort of see the fighter battle trails out here. And so they did a little damage to one of the ICs, and it'll get repaired. And a little damage here. Now I hope we did more damage to them than they did to us, is what my hope is. Okay, now, how are we doing here? They're coming in there, fighting okay, I guess, yeah. They're bombing them, good. These guys are bombing down here. Do I have anybody else? No orders. Okay, well, since they're active, we're going after them. Okay. Oh, yeah, stop this. Because when I started this, well, I think it's not doing as well as I'd hoped. Okay, hold here. Now, do I have... Yes, can they supply up to there? No. Well, we're going to come over to here and resupply out of here. We are building up the port better. Okay, submarine holes have advanced. Very good. Which we're going to stop. Yes, we can continue, but we're going to stop. We're doing coastal. I'm moving more over to these naval operational tactics, techniques, doctrines, destroyer escort role. That's good. Okay, now sort of forget because it's been a day since I played what I was doing with some of the units. Okay, these guys need more supplies. Where are they going? Okay, they're still going there. You guys need to come to here. You guys also need to come to here. You're going to air supply there. And you air supply down to... Nope. Yes, but you can also air supply there, and I got units there, so we want you to air supply to there. Okay, oh, well, we're here now, so you air supply into... Oop. They can't, but these guys here can air supply down into there. These guys get to there? Yes, okay. They can get to there. We may change some of that shortly. As you can see here, this air supply thing is a godsend. Where are you going? Oh, you're coming down that way, though. That's good. That's good. You guys are coming down into there. Okay, they're counterattacking here. We want to make sure these guys get supplies. I don't think supplies are going to transfer across from Italy or Italian-controlled areas. I was willing to have this to be very much Italy, partially for the supply issue. Oh. Didn't I cancel, or did it get attacked and shattered? Oh god, okay. I thought I canceled that operation and they would have retreated, but whatever. Come down. I know you're just a militia of Arabish soldiers and cavalrymen and camels. But hey. Okay, we're pushing into there good now. Since we sort of got this, let's continue to bomb here. These guys as they retreat. Alright, now. I should have a headquarters for these guys, but I don't yet. Okay. I may be able to beat these guys in their Monty right now. Let's see if we can throw in another couple of supporting units. Don't know which way I want to send him, but we'll have him support. He sort of shot up. I didn't want him in the front of the fight. Okay. Alright, how are we doing here? We want to get this port. That's our objective. How is our supplies doing here? Not that well. Okay. That's why I have these guys right here. I think they can make it. Yes, air supply. Probably should have already been doing it, but yes, that's the whole point of this and why I was quite going. Yeah, oh, yeah. They needed to already have that happen. Okay, CAG bomber focus. And, okay, first though, what we're going to do is come over here and we're going to, just because I don't want this to go into the hole at all, even though I have plenty of supplies in the system. I'll tell you, I'm just sitting here thinking, I actually, because of this, not that I didn't talk to myself before, but I'm talking to myself a lot more when I'm playing games. Particularly, I notice when I'm playing games, even when I'm not talking to you guys, which is obviously talking to myself at the moment, though I do imagine and know that eventually this will have an audience. But it has affected things, and I do think if I were, and sometimes I do just go silent and I catch myself after a while, and I know you sort of can tell that I'm thinking and I'm doing stuff and you're watching along, but I really think it helps to keep some level of dialogue going. Okay, I'm mainly looking to go for, shall we say, infrastructural elements on the tanks as opposed to just pushing ahead for newer assault guns, because what I want to do is be ready to improve the standard models as well. So I'm looking at, yeah, I guess armor plate thickness. Yeah, that takes up all of our leadership. Okay, keep supplying into there. Now mentioning supplies, I've also, because before I started this episode, this was red. This hadn't gone red yet, but I decided to ship in supplies from either Rotterdam or Antwerp, but that had gone red, and even Bruges there had not been getting supplies well. So by doing that, I'm sending supplies directly in, because they seem to get eaten up by some, particularly once they start having big stacks back in places like this. That, well, those are just mostly, no, there's these guys that eat the supplies before it gets to the coast. Just as a hint for you guys if you want to continue supply operations like that. Okay, not ending, but I do want to save this just for the fun of it. There we go. Okay, they're counterattacking as we knew they would. Ooh, that's a very big counterattack. Well, okay. Don't know if we would have won or not, but we're going to fall back into the Italian territory. And you're going to stop your resupply, because we don't need to give them supply or any more supplies once if they retake the territory. This is going to get harder and harder to take. Yeah, that's a big, massive reinforcement there. Okay, these guys are going to come up to there. See if we can cut this pass off here, because this is the one pass through here, because these are blocked. And that, I believe, is blocked as well. And this was the pass through the north here. The only way for these units to either be supplied, and we're right next to this. I don't know if it's just a one-level supply or one-level base. They've sent in a starvation situation. Unless there's some wacky bonuses giving them supplies in here. They're going to be cut off from supply once I get to here with this and or here with that. And that can probably hold out there. Low infrastructure. There. Okay, and we just got that. Good. Okay, Panzer-Lehr is still doing its thing. Do we have other... Oh, okay. Bunch of units to come out onto the field. Let's go back to this. Okay, yes. We're creating an SS army, actually, not just... No. Good general, but not an SS one. Okay, this is a Panzer division. Bittritz gets the 11th SS Freewheeling Panzer Grenadier Division Nordland. There we go. They've got their Hermann von Salza, Panzer Norge, Panzer Grenadiers, Denmark, Mobile Infantry. And this is within the limited number of brigades. This is rather good and rather historic. It isn't optimum, as we can see here, but they've did a really good in keeping the unit. Yeah, I don't know right offhand. Now, between practical and idyllic, that might be a little weaker, because a lot of they were shooting it for like around 10,000 men in a lot of the units, but meaning I don't know, maybe Norway or Denmark should not just be a battalion, but maybe I don't know. Now they may be looking at what was really there versus what was because I'm seeing regiments, these should both be larger if they're equipped regiments. But the Panzerabteilung, that's probably right, because it's a Panzer Grenadier Division, not a Panzer Division, so that's probably right. One of those may be a bit weaker than what they should be in this condition. You know, hey, yeah, Danes, join this unit. We've conquered the enemy. We're fighting, you know, Bolshevism. We're fighting evil democracies, you know, and whatnot. And so people would much more likely be joining up versus, hey, yeah, we know the Soviets are at East Prussia, and yeah, the Allies have taken Paris, but yeah, join up on our side and fight. Come and fight with us. You know, obviously, you know, at some point, now that wasn't happening in '43, but you know, if you look like you're losing the war, you're not going to be getting a lot of volunteers, I guess. Yes, we're going to put von von Pfeffer Veldenbrunch back in charge of it. One of the, and also Munstervich or something like that. I don't know, is the other main commander for that division. Now, okay, good. What I have also done is creating these corps into something worth sort of having. Okay, now this here, this is sort of what they, to some degree, have designed them for, is to put them in corps headquarters that are going to be fighting corps headquarters and give your combined arms bonuses. You notice this doesn't have a combined arms bonus, so you get all the effects but not the combined arms effects, which really sort of sucks. So, and I did drop in one of these. Initially was going to attach it to this corps, but then I realized I have Hauser here, and Hauser's going to switch commands. So, for some reason, modal just got dropped there too. But now, this will be much stronger with its combined arms effect. Plus, this is a much better, because you see hard attack, soft attack, air attack. This battle commander is also much better than this, because soft attack, hard attack, oh, a little bit of suppression, air defense, so because it has some air defense, you know, elements to the HQ. That it contributes to the overall division. So it is a useful combat element, these stabs, or headquarters if you're playing other nations. But here, you know, so it is a useful, but it's not your primary, and it's a, you know, supporting unit here, where these are really just transportation and often speed things up, but sometimes, I'm trying to see if there is any here. I guess not. I was wondering whether amphibious movement or attack might be hindered by some of these. No. Okay. Didn't know. But so now we have combined arms bonuses here for having the stab as part of this HQ process here. So this is not a great battle HQ compared to, you know, for core, compared to this, because hey, it started out with this Schwer Panzer unit, and so I've decided to add some rockets and some motorized infantry. And okay, so let's see, we're keeping, well, let's move to here, because this gives our real let's go over to this map here, bit of a tutorial. Okay, let's come down to here. So we're at going to actual movement, because sort of something of a ratio the way it's done, so this helps other units, other elements within the unit move faster based on the terrain, where in the standard game planes movement is just generic, but to be able to use these, this gives a bonus to move to not to movement overall, because this is the way it works is it is only going to move as fast as the slowest unit, as we can see here, which is the Panzer Abteilung heavy one. That's the slowest unit, happens to be, surprisingly, but it is the slowest element there. But now it's speeding up faster than the slowest element because of terrain modifiers. And that's how these things work, is not that they can't make this move any faster. It's only going to move at the slowest unit, except for terrain modifiers. This is the way they got the Black Ice people. And I don't know who, you know, whether it was Panzer-Lehr or Maverick or who is the other one working? Maverick and Marne Man, as in the Marne division, Marne Man. I don't know who came up with it in there, but really is more clever than anything done in the Hearts of Iron team for Hearts of Iron 3. Obviously, since you have different equipment situations, meaning it's not just, you don't move it so much by unit type as equipment and, you know, that type of thing, and motorization levels. So they've definitely done new and better things with that. But I want to see here. if we were to add this to it. So we saw in the plains it's at 7 movements, not, or 7 movement speed kilometers, as opposed to not going across the river. So that sort of is our control element. I think we can fit one more unit here. And now we're down at 5. Okay, I wanted to see. Okay, see, it's 4 kilometers per hour, so that's awfully slow. So that's slowing that up. Don't know then. Don't know that I wanted to move it that slow. We're going to take that. Should have gone for a mobile one. So I got, oh, they're not up that way, they're down this way, I think. Some of these other in production. We do have some of the mobile ones too, and so we'll use these in something else. But let's see. I want the mobile done first. It'll be a while, but there we go. So the mobile ones, maybe I was using them for something else. Sometimes it's between episodes. Here maybe? Yeah, that's where. Okay, let's try that up there. So let's send. That's where I built it for, I think, to turn some of these earlier Nederland Volunteer Legion into something more than just a single battalion of stuff. That's maybe what I built them for. And then the motorized ones are for there particularly, and there. This one just has a regular stab for its combined arms. They're coming up through there, they're coming up there. These guys don't even look like they're bothering about coming across that river now. How interesting. And are we across this river yet? No. But we do have supplies now, because we were basically at 0. So they're almost there. And then I can do a flanking attack, not across the river on that. And this is why I tell you, I guess, okay. Night combat training has increased to 3. Is that a... infantry thing? Or is that an air thing? Or naval? So, no, like I was saying, the Japanese really trained pre-war, and I presume continued to train somewhat during the war, for night naval operations. They really thought they had a real advantage at that. Don't want to say war winning or some sort of like, oh yeah, oh, anti-air cruiser, we want to do that. Is it still okay? Maybe it's a one and done. Well, it said get to 3, so maybe we've maxed that out, at least temporarily. Oh, here, down here. Okay, that's it. So we have maxed that out. Okay, so the Japanese really thought they had a war-winning advantage. Well, okay, no, yeah, wanted to adjust that. A really good operational advantage at night operations. They really trained for it, and you know, really set that up. And it would have really, and they were really quite good at it. It just, Americans got radar and put radar everywhere on every ship. Radar down to the motor torpedo boats. Radar in, you know, on aircraft. I don't think the Japanese ever, I'm pretty sure that they never had it on any significant numbers of operational aircraft. You know, that doesn't mean that they didn't experiment with it, getting some German sets and whatnot, and have it on anything, you know, in a theoretical, and not that they didn't fly it against Americans coming over Japan or something, but it was never really a thing for the, we'll do this, for the Japanese, and so, you know, Americans are like, yeah, your night operations, so what? We'll just use our radar. Okay, we go. Okay, those are there. See, okay, I'm guessing here, even though we were getting some North Africa warnings, when we were getting some of those, that we would be seeing some North Africa invasions. I would like to use these guys down in Ethiopia, but at least better units there. Let's see if there's any. Okay. Oh, how is our revolt risk doing now that we have these guys here and everywhere else? Okay, because I am thinking about upping our oppression levels by to, you know, get more resources out of there. Well, I think I'm going to grab these slow ships and send them over here. Or eventually we'll get theirs. We're going to grab one more of these and send that there to hopefully spread out our suppression levels. And that's it for now. We'll build some more soon, but they could probably use some down here, because I'm going to be moving. Totenkopf is suppressing out there pretty well, I'm sure. Maybe we can look at that unit. Suppression level is 17 just there, and you know, add that to, well, just half a level, but they're teaching the Arabs how to behave. Okay, we've won out here again. Good. Okay, we've won down there. Very good. How are we doing up here? Okay, these guys are okay. These guys probably should have been. I've just been talking and worrying about their supply. Worrying about their supply now, maybe. Okay, well, send some of our supplies, since we're seeming to be supplying the Italians. Partially just because they have such poor ports. And again, I'm saying, I'm so glad I built those aircraft. They're expensive. These long-range heavy supply units. Well, they're waiting. Can you get to there? No. Well, we got more long-range heavy supply units somewhere. Where? They're waiting either for supplies or whatever their original supply source needs it. Okay, okay, so they're getting their second port level there, which helps, but what do we got up here? Okay, they're still building theirs up a little bit more to supply supplies into there. To supply supplies. Sounds very redundant, and it is, but it's... And okay, this, and yes, we're going to build more here. I did think we were going to get, though these militia movement units are really slow, especially going across the river. I'm going to add another port here once we can. mostly just for simultaneous production of more ports to get there now instead of get there later. Because even if we, the Germans, as opposed to the Italians, capture Mombasa here, running the supplies up and over here is not the best way. Not that wouldn't be grateful for additional supplies coming in, but like I say, it's not the best way. Okay, been asked to keep these episodes shorter. Now they're not going to be like a 10 or 15 minute episode, sorry. Anybody who wants that. I still would be on my first series, I think, if I was doing that kind of daily speed. But in the interest of not letting these go too long, we'll end this here. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. Please post questions, comments, suggestions, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. And